So the NBA has been seeing a offensive overpower scoring game as there has been a lot of 70-point games, 50-point games, and the NBA has erupted in a offensive oriented scoring league now. So based on this take, Gilbert Arenas made a great take, an amazing take that they should get rid of Euros. Let's see what he got to say.
Offensive explosion in recent years. Woo! Scoring averages this season are the highest since 1970.
Since what?
1970. Scoring averages, team combined collective, before you pull out the phone. Don't blame me. So looking to make some changes in the near future. NBA executive VP and head of basketball ops Joe Dumars recently told ESPN that the competition.
It's crazy how people are using this topic, and really it's just because of how the game is being played. It's going to evolve. The NBA is going to evolve and is going to gradually get better in a direction. So when we see this offensive overpowered game, it's because of the power the offensive players have. So because they know how to exploit the game and evaluate their options, they're going to play a more overpowered offensive game because they're using the things that the NBA is giving them. Now, yes, I understand the topic as there needs to be some changes because the NBA offensive players have more power over defensive players. So I understand the topic, but this crazy idea that they need to add the rules that they don't know if they're going to or not. The NBA is going to adjust these rules. That was gonna happen eventually. Them tightening on the foul calls that James Harden was doing and Trae Young and Stephen Curry, them making themselves foul calls, them adjusting to that makes sense because that was an exploit of the game. So these offensive players are just exploiting the offensive game, which is something they don't need to do. So these rule changes make sense. It's gonna happen. They're going to happen eventually again as well. So I don't know why it's such a crazy topic to talk about.
Competition committee officially began reviewing whether the game is tilted too far towards offense and whether changes need to be implemented to achieve better balance. So Dumars said the following: "It is a topic that we're monitoring. We're diving in right now to make sure that we're on the right side of this." So my esteemed gentleman on the couch, what changes can the league make to bring more competitive balance to both sides of the ball? Or do they even need to make these changes?
Shit, play defense, goddamn. Shit, I would think that was common sense. Play some fucking defense out there. Like, he can't. What, niggas supposed to take less shots? I don't understand what they're supposed to do to the offense.
They're not supposed to agree with Rashid.
Now, this take is such a horrible take because of a couple of reasons. One, there is nothing even behind your take. I mean, if you're trying to be funny by saying some things, I understand, it's entertainment. But if you are, at least try to make some information like valid. I understand to a certain extent as some people need to play defense, but also it's because defensive players just cannot really go into an area to play defense because offensive players know how to exploit some areas. So even if NBA players do play defense and they're actually stopping their players, the NBA player on the offensive side know how to exploit a certain area to get a foul, to be able to not get a call, to be able to go into a certain area that they know that the defender can't do. So I understand to a certain extent what you're saying. People do need to play defense, but also you need to understand that there's also certain offensive things that an offensive player can do that an offensive player just cannot stop based on certain things.
The development of it, right? Because it's all a learned behavior. Ooh. And the younger you get guys, unless they have been coached and taught it at a high school level, in the U.S., like you said, there's 150 European players in the league right now, so they're not getting the same coaching and tutelage in that area that most high school coaches should. Damn near all college coaches do. I can't think of a college coach that don't work on defense, right? That's part of it. So it's a taught thing, right? So if you're not learning in high school and you're only doing 1 year or 6 months in college, then you going in at 19 because you're this talented and you don't. And those are guys, if they stick around the league, you're not, to your point always, you're not working on defense in the summer. right? You're working on your offensive game. So you were this top 15 pick coming in, and you were able to get past 4 years. When have you took the time to be like, you know what? I'm gonna go hire a defensive coach, right?
Not even thought about.
No, you're not fucking doing that. I'm gonna go hire a shooting coach. I'm gonna go hire a strength and conditioning coach. I'm not hiring someone to teach me to play defense because it's not important.
Why are there no just all defensive trainers? We don't ever see
because it's not fancy. It's not sexy.
Right.
It's not because most times defense is looked at as a team aspect thing, right? It's a team thing. So you have certain guys that you know that he can stay in front of that ball, he can do this or he block. Like that's, some of it is pride, some of it is coaching, some of it is instinct, some of it is all of it is tied into one. But the game is great as far as what the NBA wanted it to be. And this is the product, right? So now you have people griping about the product that you put all this attention into.
Yep. Facts.
But like people say, now the cat's out the bag. And, right?
It went too far.
Now trying to get it back in is like good luck.
Good luck.
Right?
Yeah.
To a certain extent, I agree. Where yes, everybody's taught different. Nobody is really taught the same. But with the NBA pushing a more offensive oriented style of game, more players are more getting taught the offensive style, which I agree to a certain extent. As yes, more players are trying to score. More players are trying to be more offensive oriented, especially with the influence of Stephen Curry, with the influence of all these offensive players. More players are trying to just score on offense, trying to find more ways to export on offense. But that is just because the power offensive players have. People understand that they can be able to score and be able to score at will. So it's able to be able to stop some of the defensive people to play. But people do still play defense. It's not the NBA's fault that the product that they have is a more offensive overpowered game. It's just the way that the basketball game is evolving. They're going to try to stop it with more offense, with some more defensive rules. That's going to happen.
Older, but yes, Gilbert.
I know what they can do. Get rid of all the Europeans.
Now, this is what this means when it's peak xenophobia. When you are just taking a take and just going crazy with it. Actually, let's just hear what he got to say.
You just said it. You just said it. You go to college to learn defense.
Yeah.
What college do Europeans go to?
I'm with you. No, I didn't say
Right?
get rid
They
of
don't
them
go to
altogether.
college
Special talent.
whatsoever. They have no athleticism.
Some
They
come
have
over.
no athleticism.
They all come over.
Hold on. They have no athleticism, right? They have no speed, no jumping ability. They are a liability on defense. There's 150 Euros in the league today. Name the top 10 defenders.
No,
None.
I'm with
right? Just the Rudy Gobert and Greek the Freak. Other than that, they're just offensive players. They're not defensive players, right? So the NBA took.
Now, to a certain extent, he's actually like there's certain amount of things he's actually correct about. In the Euro League and the players overseas, they play a different style of basketball that we play now. We are more grown up to accustomed to have defensive drills, play defense. It's a perimeter-oriented game. It's a perimeter-oriented game and an inside game. But if you stop on a perimeter, they won't be allowed to paint. And if they come in that paint, you have somebody there. That's the style of play that we learn to play because we're American. In the Euro League, in leagues overseas, they play a more team-oriented style of basketball. They don't play a mostly perimeter style of game because the center can stay in the circle. The center can stay in the paint area to not allow them to score. So to a certain extent, he's actually correct, as there aren't a lot of Euro players that actually play perimeter defense. And that's true because they're not accustomed to be able to play perimeter defense. So to a certain extent, he's actually correct. But the rest of his take, no.
Away aggression They took away aggression to open up the Euro League. When they first started getting here, it was too rough for them.
See, now he's lying because the reason why they decided to stop and to take away aggression is because the aggressive play of the Pistons during the time of Michael Jordan. They was actively injuring players, not allowing them to play, and it was countless injuries and countless aggressive play during the time of their playing. So that's why they introduced some rules so they can protect some of their American players. Even when, if you want to say back then, it was barely any European players playing when the Bad Boy Pistons played. So if you want to say they took away aggression back then, it was to really protect American players because it wasn't really a star European player back then. So that is a lie. They did not take aggression away to help Europeans. No, they took aggression away to help American-born players.
And they didn't make it.
They didn't make it, right? So
No,
eventually, they softened the rules. They didn't soften the rules for the Americans. They softened the rules to open it up international.
Yeah.
So when they're saying the Euros is going to run the league in the next 5 years, why do you think that? More threes, pass and cut. This is not our league. This is not the American style. This is the Euro style. So, drive in, suck the defense in, pass the ball to the three-point line. It's the three-point shooting league because they're copying Euro style. Suns, right? What was the biggest thing the Suns didn't do? Defense.
100%.
Ole, let's score. Boom, let's go. Right?
7 seconds.
7 seconds.
Now everybody,
Now, you saying that now Mike D'Antoni did take some of his coaching style from the Euro League. I'm not for the city that he didn't, but for you to say that that we are copying the Euro League style, no, we're not. If you watch the foreign players play, you can obviously tell that there's a certain difference between us and them playing. That's one. Two, the only reason why it's more of a 3-point scoring game, more of an offensive-oriented game, is because of the way that we play basketball. This NBA has evolved into an offensive-oriented game. So I understand, Gilbert Arenas, you have an old head mind, and you're one of those 90 defensive players. You're one of those players that think they're 90 defensive to come back, which, no, it shouldn't. It's just because of the way offensive is. It's not because we're copying Euro players. No, it's just the way that the offense is played now. It's not because it was to open up internationally, because the NBA was already doing that before. The NBA was already doing that when those rules got changed, quote unquote, and then after that, it's because that we're just trying to have more avenues and we're trying to become more national. But us adding more rules and us becoming a more offensive-oriented game, that wasn't for Euros. That was because that we was actively, the American players in the players NBA was actively getting aggressive and was actively getting shut down by the Pistons by aggressive defensive play, not to help Euros.
Don't want to foul so we can go try to score. That was the whole thing of D'Antoni. Right? That is what or those guys in so they can expand the business.
Make it a global game.
So
global game.
You remember pushing global game. How they gonna have a global game if it's too physical and too athletic for them? So they have to figure out ways where they can exist inside of the game.
Wow.
Right? Create more opportunities, bring in more shooters so they can survive. So these guys can become shooters.
He cooking.
No, that makes sense because when
they're not ISO players. Who was the best Euro to have handled?
No, I swear that makes sense because when he was just talking, I'm like, man, it feels like a lot of the issue is like the game is like a 3-point game now. So it's like everybody just shooting. Nobody's really applying too much skill.
But that's not the fault of Euros. You took his take to the farthest extent you can think of. Yes, there's some validity around his take. Not Gilbert Arenas, the guy that's next to the black guy. There is some validity around his take. Yes, I agree. But you took his take and blew it up to the highest extent. He wasn't saying get rid of Euros. He didn't say that stuff at all. The reason why it's more of a 3-point shooting game is because of the influence of Stephen Curry. It's because of the offensive game that has changed the NBA. It's not the fault of Euros. I don't know why these people think that because other people from other countries now came into America, it's infected the league. No, it didn't infect anything. It didn't cause anything to happen. It didn't do anything. The only reason why that is more of an offensive-oriented game, not saying that foreign players didn't play a part into it, but it's because of the influence of Steph Curry and because of the offensive overpowered player it is today. It's not because of them trying to open up to the Euro League. No, it's just the rules that were set in place, and offensive players now are thinking outside the box and doing creative things that the defenses are trying to stop, but due to the rules that are set in place, cannot. That's why. It's not because of Euros. We shouldn't give it of Euros. No.
To get to the basket. So when everybody's shooting, you really ain't got to guard a motherfucker because they shooting from the logo or they shooting from 5 feet behind the 3-point line. So that make a lot of sense.
So Gil, but the question, when you got a guy like Lucas saying it's easier to score in the league than it is to score overseas, how come all those overseas dudes aren't coming out here and being lockdown defenders and making it harder to score?
Because one, you can play zone overseas.
And it's a team concept.
Yeah, you can play. We can sit in here. Hey, we can hit the ball off the rim. We can, you know,
Ain't no D3.
And the court is smaller because the 3-point line ain't as.
Yep.
So it's more compact, right? So when he decides to do his ISO, remember he's the only ISO player that can literally play ISO. Where's the rest of the Euros that know how to play ISO basketball? So you have a guy that's 6'10", so for him, and he's sitting there going against Chris Paul the whole time and going against a whole bunch of small dudes, hell yeah, it's easy for him.
Advantage over.
Is it easy? Where's the rest of them saying that shit?
Facts.
Where's the rest? Who is the second best Euro guard?
Tony Parker.
No, right now.
Oh, he playing?
No, not right
What
now.
game? What team?
I was just thinking you saying overall.
No, I'm saying who's the second best Euro?
Tony lived in that motherfucker. He was doing a lot of
Right
shit. You know
now.
what I'm saying? He got his numbers up, but today, no, nobody.
We don't even, that's what I'm saying. No, because they promote these three, we don't even know who the second best point guard is for the Euro guys.
And if you already established, everybody was trying to say SGA, North American.
Is there any
Who's the
guard?
best?
Is there any other point
Then the
guard?
best shooting guard is going to be one of them Bo Bonigans. Where they going to rank your shooting guard? Huh? How many stops do they get? Soon as somebody see one of them.
Gotcha. Yeah, for sure.
Right, it's lunch meat. So when they're talking about defense, what we need to do for defense, the answer is nothing. Because if you tighten up the defense, you're losing what you wanted. And I'm sorry that, you know.
That's such a lie. That's such a lie. Even if they do these defensive rules and they allow better defense, they're not going to lose their global audience. No, that is a lie. They're not going to do that. I don't know. They're not going to lose their global audience. It's just so xenophobic to even think about that. That because we have these European players that we no longer have defense. No, that's not why we no longer have defense. That's so insane to say. And I hate when people try to say that that if you can't talk basketball if you're not a basketball player or you haven't played basketball to a certain extent, because this is a former NBA player saying this. A former NBA player saying that the reason why defense is bad is because of European players. A former NBA player saying that. And he was a former offensive player as well. And he
point above. I mean, unless you're going to do a bunch of the 2-point line become the 3-point line and the 3-point line become the 2. And now you got to try to have a whole bunch of Euros trying to get to the basket. What? Remember, who got handles? I mean, Luka got his little thing going on. Other than that, what fucking handles does the Euro have? Like, why are we pretending?
He got Shamgod on his staff.
He got Shamgod on his staff.
Yeah, that's unfair.
Kyrie.
Yeah, that's unfair.
And Jason Kidd.
Yeah. Other than that, like that's what I'm saying. So when you talk about the global part of it, they just like the American Caucasian got put out of the game. So to bring it back, you had to figure out how to, and we're just taking advantage of it.
Damn, bro, that makes so much sense. You
That
said
make
get rid
a
of
lot
all
of
the Euros, and then the defense will show up.
The defense show up. I ain't got
now you gotta
55% from the three, 62% from the three, 45% from the three, and the only black nigga on there, 31.
Gil trying to colonize the game.
I'm just
That's such an ignorant take. That's such an ignorant take because literally, some of the best shooters in the NBA or some of the best shooters that shoot above that percentile is literally black or American. Gilbert Arenas, your take is stupid. One, like I've already said, the reason why that the NBA has gotten soft, as people say, is because of your take that the reason why is because of the aggression. They took it away. They took the aggression away because of the Bad Boy Pistons. They was actively fouling and actively not shutting down, like actively getting these players injured and a risk on the courts. So that's why they adjusted to the defensive rules. The reason why there's so much scoring and so much offensive play is because the overpowered way the offensive players play. Now, for example, there's a lot of more travels and carries that most normal people see that the referees don't call. There is a lot of illegal screens that the referees don't call. There just needs to be more physical play on the perimeter as well. There is a lot of offensive things that offensive players get away with. Like, for example, a couple of years ago, when they tightened down on the offensive calls on the James Harden thing, and especially the Trae Young thing and the Steph Curry thing, where they would intentionally get tangled up just to get a foul call. And when they tightened that up, everybody was excited because that was something that offensive player was exploiting. Offensive players are just exploiting certain rules that are in the NBA. That's it. That's the reason why the defense is not being shown out. It's because of the way the offensive rules are set. It's not because of European players. That is not why. You explicitly getting rid of European players is actually insane because if you look at the top scoring games in this season, most of those players on those teams, most of those players that was guarding those players was American. Luka Doncic, when he went against the Hawks, most of those players are American. Joel Embiid, when he scored his game, most of those players are American. So even if you want to look at that, look at the defensive players of the players on America. Damian Lillard is not a good defender. Trae Young is not a good defender. Stephen Curry is an average defender. You have certain top players in the USA who aren't good defenders as well. So I don't understand your take, Gilbert Arenas. It's horrible, and I don't understand why this dude has a platform and even talk about stuff like this.